Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you another classic Clint Eastwood film review. Today I'm taking a look at his 1990 film, The Rookie. The film is, of course, directed by Clint Eastwood, stars Clint Eastwood. We also have Charlie Sheen, Raul Julia, Sonia Braga, Tom Skerritt and Lara Flynn Boyle. The film focuses on Clint Eastwood's character, Nick Polowski, who is a police detective in robbery in LA. His partner is killed by Raul Julia, who is like a car thief, a big-time car thief. And then Eastwood is partnered with a rookie cop, Charlie Sheen, who plays David Ackerman. And essentially Clint Eastwood then targets Raul Julia for killing his partner, even though he's been ordered off, and he takes Charlie Sheen along for the ride. Right, what are my thoughts on The Rookie? This was a personal favourite of mine of Clint Eastwood's when I was a lot younger. I do when I watch it now, and I've rewatched it for this review. When you watch it now, you can see the flaws in this. You could see why it probably wasn't a big hit or anything like that. You know, there are moments in this where it doesn't shine. But when I was younger, I really enjoyed this. I thought, you know, it had superb action, great stunts, and it really does. And a memorable performance by Clint Eastwood, as always. I always kind of remember when I watched this as a youngster, I always watched it and wished it was another Dirty Harry. I just kept wanting more Dirty Harry films when I was younger, and I looked at it and I thought, well, he could have made this a Dirty Harry film, you know what I mean? Just made a couple of tweaks here and there, but that wasn't to be. And the film generally works quite well. You know, it follows a certain formula, it follows a certain blueprint, ticks a lot of boxes, and works quite well. And actually, the chemistry between Charlie Sheen and Clint Eastwood works quite well here. I think one of the things, though, that doesn't work in this film for me is Charlie Sheen. And that's a number of reasons. Number one, I've never been a big fan of Charlie Sheen's. I know he's a polarizing figure these days for completely different reasons, really, but I never bought into Charlie Sheen, even when he was at his prime, which you could argue this was when he was at his prime. You know, when he did Platoon, you know, on all those kind of films, and Wall Street, I just didn't buy into him. I think the only film I've ever watched, Charlie Sheen's, where I've really liked it is his appearance in the Major League films, as Wild Thing sort of thing. It just, for me, it doesn't come off as a rookie in this film, because he's not like that young when he made this. It certainly doesn't feel like it. It didn't feel like it at the time. But his character does go on a bit of a journey in this thing. He is a little bit green around the gills, and he learns from Clint Eastwood and that kind of stuff. And the film does suffer a little bit from something of a lackluster plot, really. You know, as good as Raul Julia is in this, and he's always good at everything he does, Raul Julia, the villain is quite weak here. You know, he's just essentially a car thief, and not a very good one, because by the end of the film, he's desperate to steal money, any kind of money, so he can pay off his debts. And he just keeps getting, his plan keeps getting scuppered by Clint Eastwood, if you like, which makes him more and more desperate as the film goes on. So he's just not a very good villain, really. And Sonia Braga plays like this almost... She barely says a word in the film, and she is pretty badass, to be fair. But there's one scene here in the film that caused quite a lot of controversy at the time, and it is very cringy when you watch it. And it's well, I was about to call it the sex scene between her and Clint Eastwood. It's not really a sex scene; it's actually a rape scene where she rapes him. And you know, that was a controversial thing to do at the time, or at any time, really. You don't really see that often on the films. I mean, let's be fair, he doesn't protest a great deal, so I'm not sure you could class it as a rape. But yeah, it's not great, and it doesn't belong in the film, in my opinion. But there are some spectacular moments in the film. The clip I showed at the beginning where the burst, you know, it says "fasten your seatbelt, kid," and they burst out of the warehouse and explodes. I mean, that is a stunning stunt. It really, really is. And there was, I think, something like 80 stuntmen that worked on this film. It was heavy in the stunt department, this thing. I mean, you know, there were some very, very good chase scenes, car scenes, shooting scenes, explosions. I mean, it does all the things you want an action film to do. And there's a point in this film as well where, if you like, Clint Eastwood's character leaves the film because he essentially gets kidnapped by Raul Julia's character, and it's then for the Charlie Sheen character, the David Ackerman character, to kind of step up to the plate and stop being a rookie, if you like. And I get that, but as a Clint Eastwood fan, that 20 minutes or so when he's really in the film missed him, Clint Eastwood. So it swings and roundabouts a little bit, this film. It has a lot of positives, but it also has a number of flaws as well. This was as well, which I didn't realise until I was kind of looking into this film. This was going to be made a couple of years before, but with Matthew Modine and Gene Hackman in the leads. And then I think it was a writer's strike, some kind of strike prevented it being made, and then Clint Eastwood took it over. And I think this is something like his 20th or 21st film for Warner Brothers. So it's definitely a fun action thriller. There is some moments in this film. You got some fun quips from Clint Eastwood's character here and there. So it's got that lightness to it as well. It's got some humour. There's some lines in the film that make me laugh every time I hear Clint Eastwood utter them, because I'm not used to him being so sweary in films, other than obviously things like Heartbreak Ridge and stuff. He wasn't one for like a lot of bad language all the time in his films, Clint Eastwood, and he's very quite foul-mouthed, his character in this, Nick Palowski, and to hear him you know, curse quite a lot it's quite fun, actually. So this is one of those Clint Eastwood films in his filmography that I think a lot of people overlook. I don't get me wrong, this is never going to make a top 10 list for Clint Eastwood fans by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not even sure it'd make a top 20 list, to be perfectly honest. But it is definitely a fun film. It's worth watching. There's some big budget stunts in this thing. There's some good shootouts and some classic Clint Eastwood moments. So it's definitely worth watching if you've never seen it before. And I definitely enjoyed revisiting this one. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.